Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Mosscast. Been a couple of weeks, mate, since I've sat and talked my shit. I, I don't even know what to fucking say. I don't even know what to say. But I mean, I guess I got some things to say, but they're not very statistic, fact, or data based. They're more feeling based. So pretty naturally, there's some parts of it that might be ignorant. But yeah, I mean, I had to really think, and I think a lot of white people are analysing their privilege right now. Their privilege, white privilege. A lot of white people analysing their privilege right now, and I've been a part of that. Although I've been silent about it, no long Facebook posts or anything like that. It's just thing made me realise again, and this has been coming up a lot in my life over the last few years, is there's a set of victim cards I hold so dearly. You know, in the past, I've thought that the phrase white privilege was negating any negative or painful experiences I'd had in my life. And this is mostly because, some fucking very privileged white person once screamed at me, "Recognise your white privilege, bro!" And that sort of gave those words next to each other a bit of a salty taste in my mouth, because of more to do with the person that screamed it at me rather than what they actually mean. But I mean, I say that to say this. At one point, I think I was threatened by the idea of my pain not being important. We all like to feel like people care about us, and if we're in pain, possibly someone could help or just hear it at least, and that's a legitimate concern. I believe that the thing it really highlighted for me was this deck of victim cards I hold on to, like my pain, like it's my little baby to nurture. And how if I have these cards held close to my heart, that they'll serve me, protect me, or set me apart from the many. You know, like, you don't know my pain. You don't know what I've been through, man. You know, I've even had these little visions of people saying, yeah, Jinz had it rough. And for some reason that made me feel good. For a brief second, that shit made me feel like, yeah, that's it. I did have it rough. And that's why I'm at where I'm at, and that's why you're doing better than me, because you haven't had my particular strain of hardship. And frankly, there might be 5% truth to that compared to the 100% that I've given it in the past. And it's just another excuse to sit down, have a whinge, point a finger, and project. It's another reason not to confront my weaknesses and build on them. It's another excuse. Like I said, all pain is legitimate, but it's to be experienced, analysed, learned from, and then this is the hard part, is to be let go. It's to be let go. And the way I've let pain rule me in so many factors of my life is nothing but me holding me back from growing into a well-rounded person. I'm slightly narcissistic, I'm an outspoken introvert, I look inwardly and speak it out, so I don't know much about the ins and outs of why the current system of government and justice works the way it does, or how to change that, but I'm beginning to think about how I can start to let go of what's going on inside me that may perpetuate parts of that system. And yeah, just that victim set of cards, man. Like, why do I hold on? Why hold on to pain? Why hold on to pain like that? It's just not gonna do any good. It's just not gonna do any good. And yeah, it just, if you do, like, in the ways of, like, think of it like someone else is doing better than me because of my pain, it's just an excuse, isn't it? And what an excuse does is it excuses you of doing something. It's excusing yourself of growth. It's excusing yourself of looking at your own weaknesses. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's like a bit of a backdate of my thoughts on the phrase white privilege. I don't feel like that way at all anymore. Like, and the more of these things that happen, the more and more I realize, like, shit is fucking different for black people. Shit is so fucking believably different for them. Yeah, it's just it's very yeah, it's fucking insane what the fuck's going on. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say about it. I don't know any. I just know that if there's it just made me feel like I want to let go of more pain. That's which is the weirdest. Like I said, it's like a fucking narcissistic, introverted fucking way of digesting these like race-based atrocities, but that's about all I could take from it, from how little I know. And I feel like it is time to get a bit educated. You know, I feel like it is time to do some level of self-education, to read something. And that doesn't mean, because of the current climate, there has to be race-based education, although that would certainly be beneficial. Just something to broaden my perspective. I consistently use fake excuses to excuse myself of learning or work or unfamiliar territory, which I guess, yeah, you know, that's what an excuse is. It's a falsified reason to excuse myself from work, from the burden of doing something outside my comfort zone. You know, I say to myself, like, I'm dyslexic, I've got learning disabilities, I'm not smart, I'm not good enough, and that box is comfortable, but it is a box, and you're suffocating in a box, and it's a box that I'm putting myself in due to what class I was in at school, what a teacher said to me, or what a peer said to me, or some skewed belief that I carry from, like, watching TV or some shit, I don't know. You know, not to say I'm not like a fucking genius or anything, but these problems are, a lot of them, imaginary. Like, I am mildly dyslexic. I do have some learning difficulties. I have never been an academically gifted person, but these things don't mean I can't try. These things are excuses for me to sit in a more comfortable but limited perspective, which is only comfortable for so long, because the confusion sets in. If you sit in the same perspective and you don't grow and educate yourself, eventually some sort of level, for me, like, of confusion sets in, and a discomfort. So the comfortability becomes uncomfortable. And yeah, I just feel like I hear the words "I don't know" come out of my mouth so often on subjects that a human who's lived here with unlimited access to knowledge for pretty much my entire life, whether that's, you know, the library before the internet or the internet now, you know, I feel like there's things that I should know. I think that's what nearly every global crisis highlights for me, is my lack of knowledge on fucking everything. You know, I know some carpentry skills, I know some rap skills, I know some very basic and fundamental tools of joke writing, and I know how to talk, kind of. And I think it's time I knew a bit more. It's yeah, I think I need, yeah, it's this. These are the things that it's just been highlighting for me. It's just how little I know. Yeah, sort of levels of like comfortability that I've found in like ignorance, you know. And I think Charlemagne the God said, if ignorance was bliss, there'd be a lot more happy people, and that makes a lot of sense, because ignorance is bliss for a minute, and then it becomes really not very blissful. It becomes very confusing, and yeah, kind of a bit scary. Yeah, it was. So I mean, moving on from that, I mean that's all I've really got to say about that for the minute. But moving on from that, it was my dad's birthday yesterday and Father's Day yesterday, and he's not around. He died when I was 16 of lung cancer, and I'm a smoker, so what the fuck am I doing? But yeah, it's just like every year this, I don't even know what to do. Every year this rolls round. Every year his birthday and Father's Day roll round, and for many years I haven't done anything. I've just had a thought. I think even a year or two, maybe a year, I've even forgotten and remembered like a couple of days later, like, oh shit, it was Dad's birthday the other day. Yeah, I don't even know what to do. You know, my mum lives in England. My brother lives in fucking Amsterdam. I mean, we sometimes have a little chat, but I mean, I'm not really that close with my brother. Kind of close, not that close. Pretty close with my mum, but yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I don't even know who to do. Is there even anything to talk about it? You know, it was 15, 16 years ago now. But it definitely, I mean, this year was a bit more pungent on the feeling side of things about it. Yeah, it's very weird. He's sort of become a bit of a memory now, way less tangible than in the first few years after his death. And I want to talk about his life a little bit on here, who he was, and yeah, he was a great dude. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to know him that well, because parents shield their children from a lot, from a hell of a lot. I found out more about my dad after he died than I ever knew. Well, yeah, I mean, I found out a lot after he died about him. But he was a stage builder. He was born in London. Let's go back a bit. He was born in London in the 50s, and his parents, I think his dad. So his dad was actually from New Zealand, which I'm sort of tracking now. My granddad, he was born in Wellington, actually, on Abel Smith Street. And his mum, I can't remember, she was a Londoner, but I can't remember what she did. I think she might have been a seamstress. And his dad was an artist. I think he'd also done stuff for film. So they had 3 children, one of them being my father, whose name was Tarquin, and then he had 2 siblings, Blaze and Victoria. Very eclectic set of names. And they were so working class. They were so fucking working class. It's unreal. And they had these names. And they had Tarquin, Blaze and Victoria. And it just reminds me of, I don't know if anyone knows, The Royal Family. It's a TV program in England about this really, really working class family. And one side of the family of just completely working class, sit in front of TV dinners, you know, farting on the sofa, whatever you want to, you know, fucking dad's a builder and that, fucking mum's a hairdresser and that. And then the other side of the family in the TV program is this woman who's I can't remember her occupation, but she was very much wanting to keep up with the Joneses. I think the program was actually called Keeping Up. Was it called Keeping Up Appearances? Or I think it was called The Royal Family actually, but she was very keeping up appearances, and they had a second name that was Bucket. And the rough part of the family, the working class part of the family, were like, yeah, the second name is Bucket, but she was always like, no, it's Bouquet. Our second name is Bouquet. And that sort of reminded me when I sort of realised all these Victorian names. Tarquin, I sort of thought, was my grandma a bit like fucking Mrs. Bouquet? And she was like in this working class family, was like, I'm going to name all my children these crazy fucking Victorian names to try and raise their class or something by the way of name. It was fucking hilarious. So yeah, so he grew up in London, and he had a bit of a rough upbringing. God, I don't know how far to go into this. I want to be pretty candid, but I mean, he told me before he died that he got, and he hadn't told anybody else this. I ended up telling my auntie, and she was like, oh, I didn't know that, but he told me before he died that he was getting molested by his mum's boyfriend, and his mum. When he told his mum kind of said, put up with it. So my dad bolted and got out of there. And then he said to me that he was sort of running around the streets of London at the age of 16, just trying to get by. And then there's a blank period in his life that I don't know about. And then the next period of his life, he began working, I think he was like early 20s. Began working, doing stage building, doing rigging. So by the time he was 30 odd, he had gained himself quite a lot of stripes in that world. And he had about a crew of 50 guys working for him. And he was going around setting up stages for like Michael Jackson, U2, and some huge acts. And I remember always looking at him like a bit of a hero, because he used to come back and show me these jackets. Like he had this leather jacket that had all these sort of sequins and stuff on the back of it. It said Michael Jackson tour fucking 90s, 96 or some shit. Yeah, I always just looked at him as a bit of a hero. I didn't really see my dad that much, because him and my mum broke up when I was like, too young to remember. So my mum moved with me and my brother to Kent, and my dad stayed in London, and we'd just go up and see him on like Easter and Christmas and shit like that. And I always thought it was sweet. I get two holidays every time, you know. I get 2 sets of Easter eggs, I get 2 fucking sets of Christmas presents, I get fucking 2 of everything. I looked at it like that. I never really, my mum and dad were never together in my life, so it wasn't like I didn't actually know any different. I thought it was fine. Yeah, I used to love going and seeing him. I didn't really notice at the time how much of a hero my mum was. I always used to see my dad, because I'd only very rarely see him, and when we did see him, he was never too lavish on dropping gifts on us and shit. He was very old fashioned. He would never want to spoil us or nothing, but he always tried to make it some sort of fun, you know. We'd go around and see some friends of his who had kids, and, you know, we'd go down the park and ride bikes, and, you know, I don't know, he always just made it real fun when we used to go and see him. And I used to just look at him like this hero, and then I used to kind of look at my mum, not like the villain, but just like kind of just there. Like I used to just look at her like she was just, you know, I took her for granted. That's it, you know. I took my mum for granted, and it only was it's only been like later on in life that I realised that I did that. You know, my mum was always there every day, making dinners, making us lunches, you know, the school uniform, listening to mine and my brother's problems, if any bullying that happened, you know, everything. She was there. She was there for fucking everything. And my dad was not. But I never held it against him. I never saw it like that when I was younger. I never saw my dad as like being neglectful or not being there or anything. I remember I got in a fight once, and then this guy wanted to come back for me, and I rung my dad up, and I was like, what do I do? You know, this guy's bigger than me, and he wants to kick my head in. And my dad was like, you're probably gonna have to fight him. And that's all he gave me. He just weren't around, and he didn't really have the words of wisdom too often. But I loved him anyway. I didn't really think too much of it. I didn't think, like I said, I didn't think he was like neglecting me or anything like that. If anything, it made him cooler in my eyes as a kid. And then I got to the age of 14. I was in school, and I remember it was one year my dad didn't ring me on my birthday. My dad would always ring me on my birthday, and one year he didn't ring me, and I didn't want to like ring him up and be like, yo, where's my motherfucking birthday phone call? Or nothing like that. I didn't want to be like, hey. But he didn't ring me, and I did think, oh, that's a bit fucking odd. And then he said he was coming down. He was like, oh, I'm I'm gonna come down to see you guys. I thought, oh, maybe he's just coming down to wish me happy birthday. Maybe that's why he didn't call me, and he's gonna bring a big present or something like that. You know, I had pretty optimistic thoughts about his visit, and turns out he was bringing something quite different. He came down and told me and my brother. I don't know if he had already told my mum, but he came down and he told me and my brother, and my mum was there, that he had cancer, and that it was terminal. He was not gonna make it, but he made me a promise. I was 14 at the time. He said, I'm gonna do everything I can and take all the treatment I can to make it to your 16th birthday, which is incredibly strong of him. You know, I didn't know the damage that chemotherapy does and radiotherapy does until I saw it firsthand, and fucking boy oh boy, that shit cooks you. So I'm going to school with this news. You know, I know now that my dad's on a ticker to death, and I'm going to school, and I'm just, man, school don't matter no more. School does not matter, and all my teachers were incredibly understanding, and I took advantage of that, and I just walked out of lessons whenever. You know, I was smoking weed all during school, probably partly to deal with that. And then, you know, my mum would come up in the morning and be like, "You going in today?" And I just, nah. So I started basically not going to school, and grades going down, which my dad was always big on grades. He always wanted me to do well in school, and he even set up like a little thing. If we got like good marks, we'd get little bits of money and stuff like that. But I never really got much money because I never really got great marks. But yeah, so I'm going to school, and I'm just turning into a fucking nightmare. I'm just beginning to use this, and I think on some level I knew I was doing this at the time. I'm beginning to use this terrible news in my life as an excuse to do whatever the fuck I want. So no one can tell me nothing now, because my dad's gonna pop his clogs. That is my attitude. You can't fucking tell me shit, because what do you know? You know, my old man's gonna pop it. So in the end, I think I managed to take my GCSEs, which is like the final grades that you take in school, about 15. I took them. I'm such a fucking nightmare at this point. I'm kicking off at home, giving my mum so much attitude. She goes, "Alright, well, why don't you just..." we had a big argument. I said, "I'd just rather go and fucking live with dad anyway." She said, "Alright, well, that'll be arranged." And within a few days, I was on a train up to Bristol now, which is where my dad was living. So I'm relocating from southeast England to the west of England. So I get to Bristol, and I move in with my dad and his girlfriend. So at this point, my dad's on chemo. I think he might have done like 1 or 2 sessions of chemo at this point. So he's starting to lose his hair. And I remember at his girlfriend's place, there was vinyl flooring in the kitchen, and I would get the dustpan and brush and sweep up my dad's hair off the floor. before he could see it, because I didn't want him to see that his hair was falling out. I didn't want him to, I mean, he knew it. Fuck me, he fucking knew it. He only had to look in the mirror, but I didn't want him to see it on the floor, man. Fuck me, man. It's too much. So, at this point, I think I'm 15, and I'm living with my dad and his girlfriend. She was an absolute sweetheart. Yeah, I can't really say a bad word about it. You know, we had our differences, me and his missus, but she fucking got with my old man, knowing that he was dying. She began dating a dying man, and she looked after him in fucking every way possible. Yeah, I really can't fault the woman. She's a fucking saint. So I get there and I'm still acting up. I'm still acting up there. She had a bunch of weed in the house, and I'm just rinsing it. She said, "Oh, like you can fucking skin up out of this box and that," and I used to just blitz for it, and then she'd have a little stash somewhere else, and I'd be blitzing through that, and then in the end, she said, "Your son's got to go. Your son's got to get out of here. He's smoking me out of house and home. This is and his attitude stinks." So my dad drops the bomb on me, the poor bastard. He's fucking starting to look withered now. And my dad was like a big dude. He's like 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", big, broad shoulders, big guy. He's starting to shrink now, and he's lost most of his hair. And he's like, "Look, fucking, you gotta move out." you tell this 15-year-old, you gotta move out. You gotta get a job. So he gets me a job with his mate. Doing stage building. It's a fucking interesting job. Great job. So I start right at the bottom in this job. And I think I was earning like maybe £50 a day, £60 a day. So maybe like $100 a day. Which weren't fucking bad for a 15-year-old. And yeah, I've got to move out. So I move into a place it's a house share with these Polish guys. There's a advert in the paper, room to rent, £70 a week, which was within my little fucking £50 a day work budget. Day and a half's worth of work to pay me rent. So I move into this place, and it's fucking big enough house, bit rugged, bit rough around the edges. Move in there, and there's all these Polish blokes living there, and they're all like factory workers. One of them's a cage fighter. You know, they're all in there fucking pumping weights, fucking drinking vodka, knocking back eckies. And yeah, I move in with them, and yeah, I just began taking fucking everything. At that point, had my own money, no parent looking over my shoulder. My dad would pop round now and again, and I'd go and pop round to my dad's and spend time with him. But most of the time, I was just living alone. I had some mates there, some old friends that friends of my dad's kids, like my dad's friends' kids. So I was hanging around with them. They're a similar age. And at this point, I'm fucking taking everything. We're taking fucking ecstasy fucking 3 times a week. I'm fucking smoking 1,000,000 bongs, smoking fucking weed all day, every day. Yeah, just abusing fucking everything, man. I'm living on pot noodles, McDonald's, and taking a horrendous amount of fucking drugs. And bear in mind, I was 15, but I looked 12. Like, I was so small when I was that age. Like, I did not look my fucking age. I was not fully grown at all. Like, some people, yeah, I was a late developer. I don't even know if I had fucking pubes at that age. But, yeah, I was knocking back everything. And, yeah, I got fucking, I guess I kind of got used to my dad being in this frail state. It was like he went from this big, strong man, and then he shrunk down into quite a frail state, and he stayed like that, and he was sort of in and out of hospital. And I mean, he survived. So I got the news when I was 14, and he survived for 2 years. And they said most people don't make it through 2 or 3 sessions of chemo. He got through like 5. He was a fucking soldier. I mean, he even went off to Brazil and tried to get this holistic healing. I mean, the guy tried fucking everything to survive. But yeah, it got to I remember there was the night before he died, I went round there, and I used to go around there, and there's a program called The Wonder Years. Fuck. Whew. Shit. There's a program called The Wonder Years. I used to sit down and smoke weed and watch that with my dad. Fuck. And I remember we did that, and I remember walking to the end of the driveway. Fuck me. I remember walking to the end of the driveway, and I hugged him, and I got so used to him. As I was saying, I got so used to him being in this like withered state that I kind of thought that's some part of me just thought he was just gonna carry on like that. Some part of me just thought he's indestructible, man. He's just gonna keep going. I got some more time with him, you know. It was always just like I never saw it coming so quick. Even though he lasted for 2 years, you know, which is a long time for an aggressive small cell lung cancer that was not caught in early stages. So I hugged him. We're at the end of the driveway. I was like, see you tomorrow. I'm gonna come up and see you tomorrow. And I go back to my place that night, and me and my mates get super loose, take a bunch of pills, and drinking and smoking and fucking everything. And then I wake up with a horrific come down, and I got a lot of missed calls, a lot of messages from his girlfriend saying, fucking get up, he's at the hospital, he's dying now, he's at the hospital, he's dying now. So I come to, and I just I don't know what the fuck. So I fucking call her. I'm like, yo, I got no money. I got no money. I got no money. Can you pay for me to get a cab to get to the hospital? Yeah. Get in the cab. So, order a cab, go to the hospital. She's there waiting at the bottom. I go up in the elevator. She's pretty hysterical, naturally. Go up in the elevator in the hospital. Go to the relevant ward, and it's all curtained off, and then this doctor's there before I can go into the curtains to go through to see my dad. And he stops me and is like, your dad's on a lot of drugs. And your dad as you know him might not be your dad in there. And what he was saying to me, it was just going in one ear and out the other. I was just like, whatever, you know, fucking let me go and see him and shut up. I've known him for very long, so I've known him my whole life, so shut up. He's gonna know who I am. And I went in there, like, draw the curtain back, go in there, and dumbass, of course, he doesn't know who the fuck you are. He's cooked, man. I'm fucking morphine up to the fucking eyeballs. The guy was cooked, and he was just like yellow. He was just like yellow and grey and just like heavily breathing and like writhing in the bed, and like fucking nurses and doctors all around him. And straight up, yeah, like I looked him dead in the fucking eyes, and he did not even know I was there. He didn't know I was there. And at that point, I left the room. It was very intense. I grabbed his hand, you know, and for a second I was just like trying to get some sort of recognition out of him. But nah, so I walked out of the room and went downstairs and ironically smoked a fucking cigarette. Do you know what I mean? The fuck? Ironically smoked a cigarette, and then his girlfriend messages me and says he's dead. So I finished my cigarette and I go upstairs and I go in and see him, and yeah, it was better to see him. It was better to see him like that than fucking hell, man. Why am I even doing this? It was better to see him peaceful than it was to see him like smashed on morphine and not knowing who I was. But I mean, yeah, I just remembered, like, while talking about this, there was times when my dad was in the hospital and I shared some incredibly powerful moments with my dad. I shared some incredibly powerful moments with my dad. He was a weed smoker, and his girlfriend refused to take him joints into the hospital for numerous reasons, but the main one being that if he smoked, he would literally cough up chunks of his lungs, and he would have to cough them into a fucking cardboard dish for doctors to take away and analyze. So he asked me, he was like, can you fucking bring me in a joint? And I was like, oh, I don't know, man, like, fucking hell, like, it doesn't do you no good. you know, you cough up all this shit every time. And he was like, I remember he was like, what, so you can be out there doing whatever you fucking want to do and I've got to be in here being a good boy? Oh my god, that's so funny. I was like, alright, I get it. Alright, so yeah, I went off, I'll be back. And I went off and got him some zoots. And we went up to the roof and he was in his little gown. And we went out and stood there at the top of the BRI, the Bristol Royal Infirmary. And smoked a zoot with my dad. Fucking hell. I did not plan on getting this emotional, but fuck. Yes. So that's what I've been. That every time I think every time this day comes round, some level of these events or this feeling comes back. So to anyone out there who has lost a parent, I get it. I'm just gotta be lucky I still got my mum, and she is very much the unsung hero of my parents. She's the unsung hero of the two, and I'm gonna do my best to give her her flowers and get to know her more before she pops it. You know, I miss my mum a lot living here in New Zealand, and sometimes I get very frustrated with living here so far away from her and not being able to go around and fucking, you know, cook her some dinner or go around and say hello and just have some sort of contact. You know, I see her in these like 2-year increments. Sometimes it's been like 3 years. Sometimes it's been a year, but you know, always at least a year apart, the visits to my mum. And you know, I see visible wrinkles, visible aging. She ages in fucking chunks, and yeah, fuck, it scares me. It really scares me. But I have to accept the decision I made. I decided to move to New Zealand to create a better life for myself, and one of the costs of doing that is not having immediate contact with my mum. But you gotta lay in the bed. You gotta lay in the bed that you make for yourself. And yeah, it's there's so much good that's come from moving here, and I have to accept my choices. So yeah. Well, yeah, I don't really. There's no headlines. There's no ba-dum-dums. And one of the reasons why I guess I did this type of episode. I guess I felt the last episode was a bit fucking, you know, like, I guess I felt the last episode was a bit of cheap laughs and stuff like that, and as much as that can be funny or whatever, you know, I just sort of thought, what am I doing with this podcast? You know, is this scripted every week? Am I just fucking reading these headlines every week? Is that the depth that I have in me as a human? No. So maybe I should maybe I should go a bit fucking deeper with it. Yeah. So that's all I've got. That's all I've got for this week. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, I got nothing else. I got fucking nothing else. I don't know where else to go with it. Let's have a look. I'll save it for the next fucking episode. I'm done 50 minutes. That's longer than I classically like to do anyway. Yeah. Much love to all my listeners. Sorry if this one got a bit heavy. It just yeah. I gotta show all sides of me, man. And that's me. Gotta show all sides of me. And this is one side of me, and what's been going on in my head that's maybe not so fucking funny, but there you go. Love to all of you. Have a great week. Bye.